What was that? You wanted a high protein, zero sugar ice cream? We can do that. Come with me. So many people ask me to do protein ice cream. It's one of those things that I couldn't do before because I was making recipes, protein-based recipes for a UK business. They distribute into the UK and Europe, but they don't sell in North America. I can now tell you how to make good quality protein ice cream. So none of these are affiliated, these products, but we're just going to talk quickly about the weight of the protein ice cream you can buy in the stores. This is an unopened tub of Ben & Jerry's, which weighs 423 grams, and an unopened tub of Halo weighs 269 grams. Okay? That means what you're getting is mostly air in the Halo ice cream. You're getting 40% less ice cream because it's pumped full of air. It uses erythritol, which is crap, and that's likely why they are stabilizing it with tar gum and guar gum and just packing it with air because the texture is shit. All right. So to make a high quality protein ice cream, you need to approach it slightly differently. We're not only going to make a high quality protein ice cream, we're going to make a basically zero sugar protein ice cream. We're going to use xylitol, which is dangerous for dogs. So if you have a pup, please be careful. In this pan, we have our milk and our cream, which is 250 grams of cream, 600 grams of milk. Into this, we've put 115 grams of xylitol, and we have put 1.5 grams of guar gum in there as well. Stirred that up, pop that in. I did do it on camera, but the camera didn't film it. So this is where we are. And in this container, we have our skim milk powder. So there's 50 grams of skim milk powder, 60 grams of protein powder. This is just the protein powder I have. It's chocolate cake to be specific. Doesn't really matter which protein powder you use. Some plant-based protein powders don't dissolve as well as the dairy or whey-based ones, so you might get a kind of grainy texture, but you can't do anything about that. That's just the way some plant-based proteins are. And on the top, we have our 15 grams of high-quality cocoa. All right, don't use cheap cocoa. It tastes like crap. It sometimes doesn't dissolve properly. You want something to make this taste good. You don't want this to taste like Hershey's. Unless you love Hershey's, of course, then use Hershey's cocoa powder. So with our xylitol, our guar gum, our cream and our milk in there, we've got this. We're going to stir this up. And in that goes. That is it. Everything you need for a high quality protein ice cream. Let's get it on the hob. So really nice and simple. We're just gonna get everything mixed up on the hob. We don't need to go up to 85, 185 because we are using a cold processed stabilizer. That's guar gum. So we're just gonna warm this up enough so that the xylitol is completely dissolved, the cocoa powder is completely dissolved, and the milk powder and protein powder have also been completely blended in to make a homogeneous mix. So when it's completely mixed up, just like that, lovely smooth mixture. We're about 40 to 50 degrees centigrade here, which is this in Fahrenheit. We can actually just take it off the hob. Just gonna stir this for a couple of minutes now that it's off the hob. Unfortunately, when I started this video, the camera decided not to record. So I'm having to go over a few things again. So just to note, the ingredients for this are 600 grams of milk, 250 grams of cream, 115 grams of xylitol, 60 grams of protein powder, 50 grams of skim milk powder, 15 grams of cocoa, and 1.5 grams of guar gum, okay? The overrun on these high protein, no sugar ice creams is a very standard but really irritating commercial process that they do to mask the bad quality of their ice cream, okay? When you pump an ice cream full of air, you're reducing the ice crystal size relative to the air pocket size. And there's a level of overrun that creates the best texture ice cream. Somewhere in the 25 to 40% range, okay? In that range, 25% overrun to 40% overrun, you get ice cream with ultra high quality texture. The moment you go over that, you start to produce something that is so light that it no longer starts to taste like ice cream. It becomes a frozen dessert. And unfortunately, in different parts of the world, there is a law relating to the amount of overrun that you can have on an ice cream. In the US, I think it's 100%, which is stupid high. You know, legally you can make ice cream with 100% overrun and still call it ice cream. I don't know what that is, but that's when you go to, you know, your supermarket and you buy the absolute junk in 2, 3, 4 litre containers for about $5. That's what you get. Same in the UK. You know, you go and buy really cheap ice cream, you're getting mostly air. And it's just a case of the machines, the batch freezers or the continuous freezing process machines, pumping it full of air as it's churning and increasing the overrun. So if you imagine a 1 litre base with 40% overrun, gives you 1.4 litres, okay, of final product. 1 litre base, 100% overrun, 2 litres. So commercially it goes a lot further. It's a cost-saving exercise, and Ben & Jerry's showed they were prepared to do that as well with their Sundae range. The Sundae range, I did some reviews for the Sundae ice creams. The top of those ice creams had what they called, what do they call it? I don't know. It was basically ice cream, so their standard base with huge amounts of air, and that accounted for 1/3 of the tub. So it's a really easy way for them to say, oh look, we'll charge the same amount for much less ice cream. So that is why we do what we do. We do it at home because we are in control of what we make. Home ice cream machines will likely only achieve, most home ice cream machines will likely only achieve a 15 to 20% overrun. The higher quality home machines like mine, they can achieve, you know, kind of 40%, but you've got to have the recipe right. So with that mixed up, we're going to get this in the fridge, get it chilled down, and then we'll get churning. The next day I took the base out of the fridge, gave it a nice little stir, make sure everything is completely homogenized again, and then popped it in my pre-chilled ice cream machine. Had this one pre-chilling for about 5 minutes, and it churned beautifully, as you can see. Good amount of overrun, you know, not too high, and just loaded it up into the container. It was a really nice ice cream with, you know, 25-30% overrun from my machine. You might not get that on yours depending on what machine you got, but after loading up the tub, I popped it in the freezer overnight, and the next day took it out, and look, it's just straightforward, high quality chocolate ice cream. Nice new bowl. Got this one from Japan and scooped lovely, really nice. As you can see, this texture, let me go in a bit closer. It's super creamy. No discernible ice crystals in this. It's delicious. High protein ice cream. Should it be as difficult as people make out on the internet to make high protein ice cream? No, it isn't that difficult. The hardest thing that people do is miscalculate. People miscalculate all their ingredients. And actually this includes some commercial ice creams, high protein ice creams. And I'll show this in another video, the nutritional breakdown of some commercial ice creams and how they have it, they have it wrong to the point where they're trying to mislead the consumer. But before we ramble on about this, that and the other, let's try some of this. It's good. It's not just good for protein ice cream, it's good ice cream. It has just over 9 grams of protein per 100 grams. Now let's just let's just think about that for a second. Halo, which sells itself, advertises itself as a high protein ice cream. It really isn't, because this has 7 grams of protein per 180 milliliters. Volumetric. So we know how light this whole tub is. So in reality, we're almost twice the protein as a marketable high protein ice cream. Now, skim milk powder, it's loaded with protein. Protein powders are different. They're not all created equal. But by the time you start messing around with putting even more in, you're gonna create a fudge thickness ice cream base that won't change. All right, so think about how much you want and how much you want to advertise or consume. If you're making ice cream at home, then how much protein do you want out of your ice cream? That's problem number one. Problem number two, we go down the 0 sugar route. We have used xylitol here. No sugar. So not only have we created an ultra high protein ice cream, we've also made a 0 sugar ice cream. And we've made it with ingredients and a balance that means it sits in a freezer for days and days and days and doesn't turn into an ice block. So super smooth, tastes just like any other chocolate ice cream. Obviously, if you don't want to make chocolate versions of this, then you need to kind of rebalance this recipe completely. Because cocoa powder, you know, I used a 20 to 22% fat cocoa powder in here. That has a significant effect on the recipe. If you remove that and you use a vanilla protein powder, your recipe is going to be out of balance. But it's relatively easy to adjust. It really is. So there we go. An ultra high protein, 0 sugar ice cream that actually tastes good. It's a luxurious product. It weighs the same as a standard ice cream. It's not pumped full of air, so you're not getting a lot. Everyone's been asking for this. Here it is. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want more high protein ice cream and more 0 sugar ice creams. I'm quite happy to do combinations as well. So tell me what you want in the comments. Like and subscribe so that you don't miss out, and I'll see you next time. Actually, it is really good.